UK TV to film adaptations, much like horror films and pop music, seem to operate under Sturgeon's law. 90% of everything is crap. We've had successes like the Inbetweeners movie, but we've also had total flops like the Harry Hill movie, Keith Lemon the film, and Mrs. Brown's Boys the movie. While these films have generally been met with box office success, their critical and audience reception leaves much to be desired. As a result, if this potential goldmine is still to be mined, then it makes sense to try different types of franchises. Enter Dad's Army, a movie reboot of one of the most successful UK sitcoms of all time. Broadcast between 1968 and 1977, Dad's Army, the TV series, was created by Jimmy Perry and David Croft and was made one generation after World War II. Now, a few generations later, and with only 2 regular cast members of Dad's Army still alive, a movie adaptation seems appropriate. But can a low-concept sitcom adapt to the big screen decades later, or is this just another TV cash-in? It's 1944 and it's World War II. In Warmington-on-Sea, Captain Mainwaring leads the Home Guard, volunteers who are considered ineligible for military service. His second in command is Sergeant Wilson, and there's Lance Corporal Jones, Private Pike, Private Godfrey, Private Walker, and Private Fraser, all of whom range from inept to kind-heartedly stupid. As a result, they have very little involvement with the war itself, which means they jump at the opportunity to be part of a written article on the Home Guard written by Rose Winters. But MI5 inform the group that there's a spy reporting out of Warmington, and it's up to them to apprehend the spy and play a real part in the war. First things first, I'm approaching the Dad's Army movie as someone who's not really familiar with the TV series. I've watched 1 or 2 episodes and I know the broad strokes of the characters, their catchphrases, recurring jokes, etc. So treat this review as coming from someone who only has a passing familiarity with the Jimmy Perry and David Croft TV series. With that out of the way, the issue with taking a small show like Dad's Army, a series that was predominantly set in a handful of locations and mainly revolved around light slapstick and wordplay, and trying to justify a big screen release, is that you need to incorporate more of a narrative and include more elaborate set pieces, otherwise you've just got an episode of the TV series which can be watched at home. However, when it comes to Dad's Army, you probably could have gotten away with a 90-minute episode of the TV series. There are no new episodes coming out, you've got a fantastic new cast who are incredibly well suited to their roles and work wonders with the comedy, so the movie's weakest moments come from when they feel the need to think outside the box and justify the movie treatment. Because the best moments in the Dad's Army movie are when the Home Guard are playing off each other, taking part in slapstick, being generally incompetent but always well-meaning, etc. And while it's a bit of a cliche plot trope, the inclusion of Catherine Zeta-Jones' character as a female figure for the boys to compete for does get a lot of laughs, particularly from one scene where Mainwaring and Wilson are trying to give the Home Guard a briefing while simultaneously attempting to impress their visitor. The main focus cast-wise is Toby Jones as Captain Mainwaring, who isn't directly copying Arthur Lowe's original performance from the TV series, but is still able to come across as true to the character and incredibly funny. Toby Jones is one of the most versatile actors working today, and he is side-splittingly funny in Dad's Army, as he's trying to be a figure of authority despite having no idea what he's doing, and he has no one that is worth leading. His line delivery is the epitome of making something out of nothing, because many of the lines he's given aren't all that funny on paper, but when Toby Jones works with them, he is comedic gold, and towards the end when he does get a small dramatic moment, he actually sells it and hits it out of the park. Also, Toby Jones trying to embody Winston Churchill is not only a joke that keeps on giving in Dad's Army, but it also cements who should play the former Prime Minister in a potential biopic, #Toby for Churchill. Dad's Army's ensemble cast really do deliver for the most part. Michael Gambon is endlessly endearing as the senile Godfrey, and it's easy to argue that he walks away with most of the scenes in the movie. Blake Harrison brings his natural on-screen naivete to Private Pike, which is one of the reasons that Harrison was often a highlight as Neil in The Inbetweeners. Daniel Mays plays to type as conman Private Walker, and Tom Courtenay and Bill Patterson are memorable and equally hilarious. We also have Catherine Zeta-Jones, who may not be a very funny or interesting character as Rose Winters, as she's mainly a cipher for the jokes and comedic hijinks, but she does well with the material. Speaking of Zeta-Jones, possibly the biggest departure in the Dad's Army movie from the TV show is that this reimagining has a much bigger female influence. This is most apparent in the casting of Felicity Montague as Mrs. Mainwaring. Yes, Dad's Army purists, we actually see Mainwaring's wife. With the male Home Guard consisting of bumbling buffoons, it's often the women in the fictional town of Warmington-on-Sea who find out what's going on concerning the Nazi spy and the solution to many of the problems. Incidentally, the spy subplot may be touted as a mystery in the trailers, but the movie itself shows its hand very early in the runtime. That was a good call, as the identity of the German spy is phenomenally easy to work out even if you've not seen the movie. However, the cast member who seems to not be pulling their weight is Bill Nighy as Sergeant Wilson, who gets top billing in the credits, despite not being the main character by any stretch. Now, I love Bill, and he's done terrific work in the past, but in Dad's Army, he's not playing Wilson, he's playing himself in an army uniform. His delivery, his snorting laugh, his posturing, it's Bill Nighy on screen and not Sergeant Wilson, and this is coming from someone who isn't well versed in Dad's Army. He's also given a very poorly written subplot about him wanting to pursue a romantic relationship with Rose Winters and leaving his loving, despairing family. Obviously, the movie makes him see the error of his ways towards the end, but it takes way too long for Wilson to get there, and the way Bill Nighy portrays the arc makes him way too unlikable. But the main issue with Dad's Army is its stop-start pacing. Very rarely do you get a funny scene that is beneficial to the plot. It feels like the actual narrative and the comedic set pieces were worked on by two entirely different writing teams, and the two weren't allowed to interact with each other during lunch break. The expositional scenes desperately needed a shot in the arm, and the comedic set pieces needed to be more frequent. This is actually an issue with director Oliver Parker's last movie, Johnny English Reborn, and that movie seems to have the same strengths and weaknesses as Dad's Army. They've both got great comedic talents ready to commit, but there are a lot of slow, inert moments that make the movie feel like it's dragging its feet, meaning it has an uphill climb to get the pacing going again. The movie's lost its momentum. It feels like Dad's Army spent too much time in the pre-production process overthinking the screenplay. When you have a cast this accomplished and this willing to commit to these iconic roles, then you don't need a world-saving narrative about a Nazi spy that climaxes in a mini Normandy sequence and poorly edited gunfights and explosions. And when it comes to the movie incorporating the catchphrases from the series, some of them work well, but towards the end the script just powers them on back to back without any thought. At one point, Lance Corporal Jones just says out of nowhere, "They don't like it Upham." It's unmotivated. I don't even think he's saying it to anyone in particular, and it's strange that the movie chose that moment to use the line when there were plenty of fitting opportunities earlier. In terms of its production values, Dad's Army does well with its on-location shooting in Yorkshire. The production company Screen Yorkshire did a great job capturing the countryside by shooting in Bridlington, Flamborough and Beverley. It's a handsome looking production that does have a nice variety of locations, strong period detail, good costume work and makeup, etc. But when the movie has to do anything more than be a sitcom, you do start to see the cracks. A few of the homages to the spy genre and the climactic battle scene feel so out of place and not even that well handled, in particular the final moments of the finale, which don't make a lick of sense in terms of geography or logic when you take more than a second to think about it. But the iconography from the original series is earnestly recreated, such as the ending credits, and the theme song is actually the original version from Bud Flanagan. It's not been remixed, but the audio has been cleared up slightly, and it's never sounded better. So after all of that, here's my conclusion. Dad's Army is an earnest attempt to revitalise a series that has long remained dormant, with a mostly brilliant ensemble cast and a creative team who clearly have a love of the series. It has a lot of laughs, and fans of the series will be glad that there's very little shark jumping and the new actors do these roles justice. But it's hard to deny that the creative team may have overthought the narrative. When you have a new cast of actors for a new generation in a new format, then why do you need to try and distance from the structure of the original series? Just get these actors together, put them in the lineup, and let the comedy come naturally. At 100 minutes, it's a bit too long to accommodate its awkward structure, but even if the comedy here doesn't gel with your sensibilities, it's hard to get mad at Dad's Army because, well, they definitely tried here. Maybe a bit too hard, but they did try. I give Dad's Army 3 stars out of 5.
You remind me of someone. Winston Churchill.
I like to think that if we met, we'd both be the richer for it.
Oh, yes.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to my review. You can find these reviews a day early on my website, so be sure to visit www.trilbee.com regularly, where you can find a written version. I'm just experimenting with a new format, so let me know if you like these audio reviews to complement the written ones. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. But more importantly, what do you think of the film? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for more movie-related analysis. Please hit that like button, as it really helps me out, and you can support my content through Patreon for exclusive perks and rewards and updates. I'll see you folks next time.